WrestleMania 30 took place on April 6, 2014 in New Orleans, Louisiana. And, 2014 was not a bad year for WWE, but also wasn't like a spectacular year. Like, the roster was very lackluster when it comes to star power, but they made the best of what they had for WrestleMania 30. Let's remember, CM Punk, was gone from the company at this particular time frame, so he would have been a part of the show originally, but because after the Royal Rumble he departed from the company, he was a big asset and a big star of this show that would have added a lot, but wasn't a part of it. Now, I believe CM Punk posted what the original WrestleMania card was going to look like on his Instagram story. Now, I've heard some people say this was cap, I've heard some people say this was true, but just, looking at what the original card could have been hypothetically, if this what it really was going to be, I'm not going to lie, this would have been diabolical right here. However, it's not the show that we got, so let's dive into the full show. The opening match for the regular show, not counting the pre-show stuff. Daniel Bryan vs. Triple H is one of the best opening WrestleMania matches of all time. Top 3 opening WrestleMania match in history. I mean, this was the best storyline by far going into WrestleMania. The Yes Movement really took the WWE by storm. Daniel Bryan's popularity peak is one of the greatest I've ever seen any superstar have. I mean, all the segments they did, not even just leading up to WrestleMania, but the whole story from SummerSlam of 2013 leading all the way into WrestleMania for this moment. Daniel Bryan, to me, has the best underdog storyline in WWE history. And going into this match, Triple H had one of the greatest WrestleMania entrances of all time, but in the ultimate end, Daniel Bryan would get the victory as much needed and would move on to the main event to fight Batista and Randy Orton in a triple threat match, so we all knew that was coming, but this honestly to me was match of the night. I feel like Daniel Bryan vs. Triple H was the best match on WrestleMania 30. The next match only was about 3 minutes long, and that was The Shield versus the New Age Outlaws and Kane, and this match was dumpster fire. Like, The Shield being on the show was great, but the best opponents you have for them were Corporate Kane and the New Age Outlaws, an old tag team from the Attitude Era they brought back. Like, nah, this was dumpster fire. Then you had the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which is still the best one they've ever did and the most interesting and most hyped one they did, man. Like, this match was fun to watch, and the ending, Cesaro picking up the Big Show, dumping him over the top rope, and if there was a perfect time to finally, and I mean finally push Cesaro, it would have been the moment after this. Remember, the next night on the Raw, they made him a Paul Heyman guy, bro. Like, that could have meant something long term. Like, the fact they had, Cesaro be the first person to win the Andre Battle Royal, and they make him a Paul Heyman guy and do nothing with him, whether they were to push him in the mid-card scene or even try to dabble, to push him in the world title scene to see how that would have worked. They didn't even try, bro. And I know some people are going to say, well,
he's like a promo skills sucked and he couldn't cut promos.
That's why he was with Paul Heyman. They put him with Paul Heyman, bro. Paul Heyman can cut all his promos. All Cesaro has to do is just go in the ring and deliver. And he does that. His in-ring work is incredible. His strength is incredible. Like, he would have delivered on that end. He always does in the big matches. He's shown that many times, bro. Like, I just don't understand how they didn't capitalize and do anything with this guy after winning the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. You only get a first ever for everything. To kick off the show before any match had started, we had a legendary moment with Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock, man. Like, these are 3 of the biggest names, 3 of the biggest stars in wrestling history, all creating a moment, honestly, that will forever live the test of time. Then you had John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, which is also a very good storyline. Remember that promo package with the Eminem song Legacy? Oh, man.
Hey, yo.
It's giving me goosebumps just thinking about it, bro. Taking me back. Very good promo package, very good story build-up, and a pretty good match. I did enjoy this match and the story. Now, I know the critique of this match. There are people that strongly feel Bray Wyatt should have won this match and beat John Cena because that would have helped propel him up even further. I'm not disagreeing with that necessarily, but I don't think Bray Wyatt losing really diminished or hurt Bray Wyatt in any way. I think it's what they did with Bray Wyatt and the stories after this loss. Like, sometimes you can still lose big matches and still feel credible afterwards. Go look at Undertaker versus Kane, WrestleMania 14. It took 3 tombstones in a row to beat Kane. At the time, the tombstone was a very protected finisher. So the fact that Kane kicked out of 2 tombstones and then damn near kicked out of the 3rd one, and then he laid out Undertaker after the match and pretty much was the last man standing. Like, even though Kane didn't win the battle, he walked out of that match still standing on his own 2 feet while he left the Undertaker laying in the ring. That's how you look very strong and a credible win for somebody else to make feel credible, but you still look strong in losing. You can do that in wrestling. And I feel like Bray Wyatt, with the story aspect, he looked fine losing. It's just what they did with him afterwards, year after year, with the storylines that he was involved in, and not capitalize, him getting the big wins and his storylines, where he can get big storyline wins. That was like the main issue of his character. Then we had Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker, man. Now, we do know Undertaker suffered a very serious concussion in this match because he's talked about it many, many times. He doesn't even remember anything happening in this match. So, part of that, I will say, is the reason this match does get a little bit of a pass for being as bland as it was. But the most shocking moment, obviously, was Brock Lesnar conquering the streak. This is the most shocking moment in WWE history by far. I don't know how anything could ever top this. Undertaker for 21 years, 2 decades, remained undefeated at the grandest stage of them all. And Brock Lesnar, yes, looks like a credible threat. He's the beast incarnate for a reason. And going into this match, there may have been some doubt for some people, like, if they're going to have Undertaker lose at WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar does look like the guy that could do it because of who he is. But nobody ever really thought, I think, Brock Lesnar was really going to take the streak. And the fact he did it, honestly, it left people speechless. You could literally hear a pin drop. You could hear a pin drop in that stadium when Undertaker, got pinned 1, 2, 3 in the middle of that ring. And then we had the Vicky Guerrero Invitational match for the Divas Championship, where she made AJ Lee defend her Divas title pretty much against everybody in the Divas division, where, this match was okay. This is way before the women's revolution really took off to become the women's evolution of women's wrestling, where it helped propel, women's wrestling to be taken more serious in WWE. AJ Lee was pretty much carrying, this division on her back, bro. Like, she was pretty much like the only diva at that time, maybe other than the Bella Twins, that stood out on the roster as a diva that people really invested into or felt important because she was involved in other stories, and everything that kind of made her stand out. So, AJ Lee, hope to see her come back someday, maybe 2025 Royal Rumble. Let's keep our fingers crossed for that. I'm still hoping for an AJ Lee comeback because she's one of my top 5 favorite women's wrestlers of all time, for sure, man. But, this match, honestly, it was what it was for a Divas match back in 2014. It's what you expect. And then the main event was Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton. And I tell you, literally the only thing that could put a smile on people's faces at the end of the show was Daniel Bryan winning that WWE World Heavyweight title, especially after we saw Undertaker lose the streak. It's the only thing that can make the fans happy ending the show. And the triple threat match was good. It was cool. And Daniel Bryan got the big victory. That was great. And the fans, got sent home happy, man. Like, WrestleMania is one of the biggest WrestleMania moments of all time. Is this show overrated? Maybe a little bit, because I do think some people put this WrestleMania a little bit higher than it should be. Like, I honestly don't know if this is really a top 10 WrestleMania all time. And that's not crazy to say because, I can name some WrestleManias that I definitely would place over this one. WrestleMania 17, I would put over WrestleMania 30. I would also put WrestleMania 19 over WrestleMania 30, along with WrestleMania 21. Definitely would put that over WrestleMania 30, 100%. Honestly, WrestleMania 22. WrestleMania 22 to me is one of the most underrated, slept on WrestleManias of all time. If you don't know about it, you need to go back and do your history, man. WrestleMania 22 is highly slept on. I would put that over WrestleMania 30. I would also put 23 over WrestleMania 30. I'm putting WrestleMania 24 over WrestleMania 30. WrestleMania 24 is still a top 5 WrestleMania all time for me. WrestleMania 31? Yeah, I'd put WrestleMania 31 over WrestleMania 30. I'd also put WrestleMania 39 and WrestleMania 40 over WrestleMania 30 for sure. And there honestly might be some other WrestleManias in there in between. Like, 35 was long. It's still a pretty good WrestleMania. WrestleMania 37 was pretty solid. 38 was pretty solid as well. I don't know if I would 100% put those over 30, but if people had said that, I don't think that's crazy, man. But you know what? Let's talk fantasy booking for a second, because I do believe this WrestleMania could have turned out a lot better if this had been the original card for WrestleMania 30. Let's say CM Punk doesn't leave WWE and everything happens. We get CM Punk versus Triple H at that WrestleMania. That would have been great right there. Like, I think they would have had a really good match. CM Punk getting the big win because I don't see Triple H beating him at WrestleMania. And the story build up, the promos they did. I mean, I remember the promos they had, the exchanges they had in 2011. Some of those got really heated, but they were really, really good because it did feel personal. And there was a little bit of a beef there between the two at the time frame. And the beef, honestly, was a lot bigger in 2014 between the two. So, sometimes, personal issues, they do make the best storylines on television for WWE's product. And I think, this match would have really cooked at WrestleMania. The Shield versus the Wyatt family was a layup. It was right there. The match we got the literal pay-per-view before WrestleMania. The Elimination Chamber. The match they had at Elimination Chamber was great. The story build-up was great, bro. Like, this was WrestleMania worthy. The fact that it honestly didn't happen at WrestleMania and happened the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, it's kind of criminal if you ask me. This was WrestleMania worthy right here. This would have been a much better match for the Shield to be in than what they previously got. Hear me out on this one. Batista versus Brock Lesnar. The Animal versus the Beast, bro. I fully believe this is money, bro. This is dollar signs, bro. This got dollar signs all over it, man. Like, I fully believe people would 100% been invested into this. Batista came back to WWE that year. Brock Lesnar was around in WWE that year, obviously, bro. Batista versus Lesnar, two of the most intense and most ferocious, dominant superstars of all time, bro, colliding in a big WrestleMania match in New Orleans, bro. Oh my gosh, man, this would have been must watch. John Cena versus The Undertaker. John Cena getting to challenge the streak, which I think was a big monumental dream match that people had wanted to see happen. And when we finally got John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania, it was 4 years prior to this WrestleMania, and the streak was already dead. Undertaker was old and past his prime, a little bit older and past his prime than he was 4 years previously. And John Cena wasn't around much anymore. He already had one foot out the door to Hollywood and everything. Like, he still had some left in the tank, but he really was out of the Super Cena element at this point. In 2014, Cena was still Super Cena. He was still full-time. Undertaker could still go and put on good matches at that time frame, man. And I feel like having John Cena challenge the streak, that could have been one of the biggest WrestleMania matches of all time. Honestly, this could have been bigger than any match on that show. And just imagine, if you really want to do something crazy, something earth-shattering, you could have had the most shocking moment ever and had John Cena end the streak and turn heel. Can you imagine if John Cena, had tried to put Undertaker away in this match? Undertaker kept kicking out of every attitude adjustment, kept getting the rope on every STF, and John Cena just couldn't, put Undertaker down. And can you imagine if he did some type of heel tactic where he hit Undertaker with a low blow or distracted the referee, Undertaker with the chair, or something diabolical that was out of John Cena's character element, and then hit him with an AA to beat the streak, and then you knew Cena was turning heel in that moment, beating the streak? Bro, that right there would have been bigger than Hulk Hogan turning heel at Bash at the Beach, and I stand on that. John Cena turning heel to end the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania 30 would have not only been the most shocking moment in WWE history, it would have been the most shocking heel turn of all time. Because honestly, I don't think anybody would have seen it coming. And then the main event, you just have Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. Run it back, bro. And that honestly was the only story to tell for the two to fight for the championship. Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble, goes on to WrestleMania to become champion like he did and everything. But if you remember, SummerSlam 2013, when Daniel Bryan became WWE Champion, who cashed in Money in the Bank and took the title from Daniel Bryan? It was Randy Orton, and that was the birth of the Authority. When Daniel Bryan beat Randy Orton at Night of Champions and they had that referee fast count, they stripped him of the championship. And then he fought Randy Orton again in Hell in a Cell and got screwed by Shawn Michaels when he was the special guest referee, lost to Randy Orton again. And then he did, the stuff with the Wyatts and everything, and they built Daniel Bryan up in different aspects. But all they would have to do was have Daniel Bryan come in number one in the Royal Rumble, where he has to be the ultimate underdog and overcome the odds and be the Iron Man, does all that, and then gets to WrestleMania to finally take the title from the Authority chosen one. Randy Orton was the chosen one for the Authority. They handpicked to take the title over Daniel Bryan to take the spot of the face of the WWE. That's the perfect story and the perfect main event right there. And then you can keep the Divas match, you can keep the Andre Battle Royal and everything. That was cool, but if you add those matches to part of the show, the ones that I named, I truly think that could have went down as one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, hands down. Because if everything had lined up perfectly, the matches had delivered, the right booking and everything, oh my gosh, that would have cooked. How do you personally feel about WrestleMania 30 though? Do you feel like it's overrated? Do you feel like it's a little underappreciated? Let me know in the comment section below. And always make sure to subscribe, like, share, comment below. Turn on notifications to be updated with all wrestling content on the channel. And to be on the lookout for the No Name Wrestling Podcast when we go live every Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. And if you want to see more wrestling content related on this channel, you can click on the videos right here.